I don't want to date a 43-year-old.
I keep myself to myself.
It's so funny, babe. It's so funny.
I don't...
Why do you only talk to girls in the comments? Because it's only the girls that are commenting, and if it's a comment from a guy, I say hi. I don't know. So I am an affectionate carer. That's me. Side cheek, hug, people, treat them like human beings. Welcome to me. So I will like her prom pictures because she survived to be a prom. I will like the other pictures because she was confident at posting, even though she's recovered and was recovering from cancer.
Fast forward to 2022, the TikTok user Absolute Melt 2022 posted a screenshot giving evidence that Paul Breach, who was 27, dated a 16-year-old girl, which sparked a lot of controversy for Paul Breach being a P-word.
Paul Breach became famous for creating NPC content. NPC refers to a non-player character. It is a popular TikTok trend where creators act in a robotic way when interacting with comments from viewers or GIFs. He first went viral for dancing to Green Green Grass, which people at the time seemed to vibe with. After amassing quite a large number of followers, he started creating content where he would just respond to people's comments. However, the thing was that these comments, or the people he was responding to, never existed. They were all made up so he could create content around a topic or trend. He once used sound effects to make it seem as if he had a woman in his room with him. And due to the unique nature of this type of content, Paul Breach was credited as one of the first content creators to produce NPC content. This meant he amassed even more followers. His fan base grew, but so too did his ego, and that was where his problem started. Beyond the ego, something incredibly dark was happening in Paul's videos. People started to notice that he would only respond to younger girls. The problem was not just that he was selecting young viewers to respond to, but that his responses were flirtatious. He even once confessed that his interests are actually those of younger people.
But I'm always after the young'uns.
And the aggregate of all these was that people started to investigate him. There were social media forums dedicated to unveiling him for who he really was, a cringy middle-aged man who is also a predator. There are also pages on TikTok, such as Investigation Paul Breach, dedicated to showing some of the dark sides of Paul Breach. So, when did it go wrong for this NPC content pioneer? Why did he become the poster boy for everything bad about TikTok? And how did he become the guys people use derogatory words for whenever they see him? Unlike many streamers and social media celebrities out there, Paul Breach rose to fame as a middle-aged man. He was born in England on January 31st, 1980, and did not pick up a phone to post videos until he was nearly 40 years old. He gained a considerable number of fans who found his cringy content exciting, mostly because watching a grown man act like a teenager is hard to look away from. One of his most popular videos was when he farted mid-stream and then brushed it off as if nothing happened, which somehow only made people watch more.
Who's Rage? Who?
There was also a time he basically started a trend on TikTok by dancing to a song in the background, but his biggest breakout moment came when he sang an original tribute to English footballer Jack Grealish during the Euros.
You remember, before the Euros there was a footballer that nobody knows. Now it's the World Cup, and he scores his goal. His name was Jack Grealish. His name was Jack Grealish. And you're like, he's my bubba. Oh, he's my boo 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 boo. Oh, he's my bubba. He's my boo 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 boo. Come on, England.
A verified artist named Declan McKenna duetted the video and called it his all-time favorite TikTok.
Do you remember? Before the Euros there was a footballer that the girls didn't know. Do you remember? Before the Euros there was a footballer that the girls didn't know. He was Jack Grealish.
The algorithm shot Paul into a limelight he had absolutely no business being in. His follow-up video, the Green Green Grass Dance, became the one that truly defined him, with millions watching a blank-faced 40-year-old man sway to a George Ezra song. Another viral moment that added fuel to his fire was when he commented on a tragic plane crash while live on TikTok. Instead of genuine concern for potential lives lost, Paul simply brushed off the news, as though it were surface-level information, like a pop star being spotted at a local pub.
Oh, there's a plane crash in Tanzania. God, blimey. Into the lake.
He often dressed as a woman just to dance to a song in front of the camera, and the internet ate it up. Other times, he would just make content where he appeared zesty and over the top, giving off the energy of a man who genuinely believed he was doing something cool. Sometimes he tried to fit himself into a real-life person, like when he made a video on his idea of being a great English teacher. Paul's content was the typical videos of goofy adults that looked like they had missed a large part of their childhood and intended to go back to the days via social media. Only that his age has made many things inappropriate for him. However, not everyone who watches his content is there to support him. Some just find it cringy. It was not out of place to typically see a comment saying, "Whose dad is this?" wondering how a middle-aged man would degrade himself in such a manner. Another person sees his actions as a red flag. Honestly, anyone over the age of 24 who still acts like they're in high school is a massive red flag. When he posted a video with the caption, "My mum dying when I was 21, one of the comments says, "Poor her, couldn't get away fast enough." Another says, "This makes sense now," to suggest Paul probably would have turned out better if she were still alive to take care of him. Little by little, people just did not think this cringy middle-aged man was what he appeared to be. Slowly, they started to wonder if the cringe was covering something much darker. And so they started to investigate him and pull up anything disturbing about him. The controversy surrounding Paul Breach did not come out of nowhere. They had been building quietly in the background since the very first days of his online presence. A user experience commentary platform called Tattle Life did a deep dive on Paul Breach and uncovered some of the nastiest things ever discovered about a TikToker, creating a thread about him as early as June 2021 that would eventually balloon to 32 threads with over 1,600 pages of discussion. They found that he focused heavily on responding to young women on his page, and this was his first clear indication of behavior. Someone also found out that he had once paid a much younger woman under the guise of a photo shoot, which raised even more red flags. Anyway, Paul has paid a 19-year-old entertainer under the guise of a photo shoot Hamlets. One of the users on that forum mentioned that he probably went for younger women, because he could not handle women his own age, which honestly tracks with his entire online history. There's no way in hell I could ever see him with someone his own age. He couldn't handle it, which is obviously why he goes for the innocent young ones. His subreddit was not so different. Many users there pointed out how he targeted teenagers on his Instagram, following accounts of girls barely out of middle school while acting like it was all perfectly normal. He's a creepy little man who dresses like a 13-year-old boy who uses Instagram to try and connect with women/girls who are generally in their teens. Teens like to laugh at him generally. Others see his dress up as plainly weird, while still touching on the subject of teenagers.
I'm very demurtsy, I'm very cutesy, I'm very demure. But I mix them both because I'm what? Very demurtsy.
He's an influencer on TikTok who allegedly does some very suspect things. If I recall, he's allegedly attempted to meet minors and slash or has messaged them privately. There's also been streams where he's worn his stepdaughter's clothes, and to say they were ill-fitting would be putting it mildly. In fact, there are an entire thread on Reddit dedicated to unveiling him as a predator, and how much of a loser he is in real life. One of the commenters on such threads says, his family kicked him out a year or two ago, so he's effectively homeless and roams about living in hotels. The last video I saw was him standing in Times Square over in New York, clearly hanging around waiting for someone to recognize him. But the platform that truly cracked him open was TikTok itself, because his behavior was visible in real time to hundreds of thousands of people paying attention. And so the question everyone was asking was the same one that keeps coming up about men like this. How did he last this long? How did nobody stop him sooner? Accusations against Paul Breach were not vague rumors pulled from thin air. They were backed by patterns of behavior that anyone paying even a little attention could see playing out in a plain sight.
Should we all do an introduction?
Yeah, go on.
I'm called... Right.
Paul seemed to be aware of exactly what he was doing, and he was not even trying to hide it. When someone asked him why he only responded to girls in his comments, instead of giving a clarifying answer, he simply claimed it was because boys did not comment on his videos.
To girls in the comments, because it's only the girls that are commenting, and if it's a comment from a guy, I say hi. I don't know, maybe because I'm dating them all and we're having babies.
Then another person asked how he selected the people he responded to, and his answer was basically a confirmation that his interest in young girls was not accidental or innocent, and when people repeatedly called him out on his behavior, he simply told them that their opinions would not change his moral compass, which is exactly what someone says when they have no intention of changing anything. It was not just the comment sections either. There was a time when he went on Instagram and started liking pictures of a 16-year-old girl, and when he was confronted, he said he only did it because she was a cancer survivor.
The ladies' pictures that I've liked, like I said this morning, she suffered with cancer when she was growing up. So I will like her prom pictures because she survived to be a prom. I will like the other pictures because she was confident at posting, even though she's recovered and was recovering from cancer.
He also said he liked another underage girl's bikini photos because she had a long-term health condition, as though liking a teenager's bikini pictures is somehow a medical gesture. His TikTok is also filled with such acts. There was a time when he was playing around with a teenager on his live and called the young girl babe 3 times.
obviously I'm speaking on here, but at the end of the day, like, I
so
keep myself
comical,
to
babe.
myself.
It's so funny, babe. It's so funny.
I don't know. I mean...
Then there was this other time when he was complimenting a teenager during a live stream, telling her it was okay and that she liked her voice. It wasn't just the compliments. It was the way he was speaking, his tone, as well as his body language. These are not how you would expect a middle-aged man to speak to a teenager.
Get to the point. You like my voice. Thank you, guys. It's an incredible voice. To be honest, I'd fall in love with my voice. To be honest, guys, I would fall madly in love with this very well-spoken Englishman. To be honest, it is an incredible voice. So, hey, take the positives. Look at your face.
But in this case, it's the negative because they're telling me that I'm dating you.
YouTubers and TikTokers began doing full expose videos on him. One of them literally compiled a roundup of his controversies, including the accusation that he dated a 16-year-old. The deeper people went into his life, the more they found. People also found old tweets from an account called Cheeky Breach, where Paul had written things like, "Why do ladies think just wearing those tight, see-through leggings is okay?" In some of the exposed videos, some of the commenters came out to publicly accuse him of liking their photos when they were underage, but then he stopped when they became legal adults. "Oh, I see he used to like my TikToks and I'm 17. Then screenshots from Paul's original Facebook account circulated online. In the photos, he was with an extremely young-looking girl. People used her birth date to calculate that she was no older than 17 when these pictures were taken, and she looked visibly pregnant. However, there was no real evidence that the woman in the photo was actually underage at the time. It seemed like people were just trying to grasp at something that wasn't there. But then, when Paul was asked about the allegation, he deflected instead.
Someone said, "Did you get a 17-year-old pregnant?"
Did I get who pregnant?
A 17-year-old pregnant.
I thought I got a 15, 16, 20, 19.
Since he never addressed this, the questions kept coming. And maybe it was his guilt taking over, maybe he was being sarcastic, or maybe he was just all he appeared to be, a creep. But Paul's responses only proved how much of a weirdo he was. And so, when he was asked again on Instagram, he actually confirmed the allegation rather than denying it. He decided to actually speak up about the allegation that his ex was underage when she got pregnant for him.
My ex-fiancée, pregnant at 15. She's 31, my son's 13.
However, when you do the maths, you realize that she was 18 when she had Paul's son, which means she must have been under 18 when she got pregnant, and you could see that he was out of touch with whether or not his behaviors were bad. He was trying to explain why he had to meet up with a 19-year-old girl, and he said he was geocaching.
Oh, why are you going geocaching with a 19-year-old? Because it's geocaching. It's a walk in the countryside, finding something, move on to the next thing. It's not uber exciting. But if the person pops into Instagram live chats for months, integrating herself with people who are on a live chat, talking about families and doing that, in the live chat saying, "Oh, let's meet up for a geocache, I've sent you a message," and then I read the message and go, "Okay, let's go and do this geocaching," and then, yeah, meet me, throw...
What strikes people most is that Paul does not seem to care about the controversies. He often receives gifts from accounts clearly created to mock him, accepts cameo orders from people who obviously plan to share the videos as jokes, and doubles down on behavior that the entire internet has labeled predatory. He even got fired from his nursing job, not because of any legal action, but simply because he refused to delete his TikTok account after multiple warnings from his employer. This tells you exactly where his priorities lie. He had spent 21 years working in healthcare, gaining access to some of the most vulnerable people in society, and then bragged on TikTok about kissing and hugging patients without their consent, describing himself as an affectionate carer. His workplace agreed this was a problem. Paul did not.
So I am an affectionate carer. That's me. Side cheek, hug, people, treat them like human beings. Welcome to me. So I will hold a resident's hand. I will hug a resident. And I will side kiss a resident if they need that love and support. I will do that. I will always do that. I have always done that.
Naturally, everyone became disgusted by this statement. The fact that he said he had no problem harassing people was not something anyone could overlook. But then again, Paul did not care. However, his statements were not so surprising. Going deeper into his past, people found an old profile on a British website called Face Party, where a 26-year-old Paul had written that he had mostly female friends, loved to be hugged, and found girls more lovely to look at. With Paul Breach, as long as you look closely enough, you will recognize the patterns. In one of his social media posts to confirm his loneliness and his weird need for hugs, he wrote, "I'm missing affection at the moment more than I can ever explain. And I know that's not healthy, but it's literally my life force. It gives me energy and recharges my bounce." It is therefore not surprising that when he could not get people his age to help him recharge his bounce, or as he called it, he started looking at teenagers to fill the void. The more these accusations pile up, the more people demand an answer. And then, in 2022, when an accusation of him being in a relationship with a 15-year-old got out, he felt the need to actually comment on that. However, his highly anticipated explanation was not what people expected.
A 15-year-old messaging me, saying she was poorly, and can I send her a nice get well message? So I did, for her then to delete that message, and that message to be used against me, is the run-of-the-mill for here and for this.
Many of the comments stated that the response was empty and contained no truth. One of them says, "He answers no questions, he just lies more." The pattern was clear long before the internet caught on. He had spent years testing boundaries with vulnerable people, and TikTok simply gave him a bigger pool to fish from. A TikToker named Boo uploaded a video about Paul Breach and compared him to her ex-partner, who had her at 16. This comparison hit a nerve with Paul, and he responded the way he always did, by dismissing the concern, playing the victim, and calling the people discussing him obsessed.
Lo and behold, some people who are doing it to protect the internet jump in to dual live them after being egged on by all this person's friends, to then again dissect my life in a purely fun way. Now, this would be the same person who has been through trauma in her own life and supports everybody going through trauma, apart from you can throw it onto me. Again, I wasn't in your last relationship. That wasn't me who hurt you. That wasn't me. That was your past.
Boo was not deterred. She immediately countered by making a video with one of the girls who had been on the receiving end of Paul's techniques, letting the victim speak directly so no one could claim it was just speculation.
Don't feel bad for answering every single question.
I'm only scared in the sense of, like, I'm not, like, physically scared of Paul. I don't think that's, like, that was never, like, something that I was worried about. Like, I never went into it thinking I could be physically hurt. I guess the thing is, I'm wondering now, like, will he think that I'm against him?
What made Boo's involvement significant was that she was not just a random person on the internet taking shots. She understood the mechanics of how men like Paul operate, and she explained them in a way that cut through his usual deflections.
Now, many moons ago, when I was 16, I was dating a 27-year-old man. And Paul has mentioned his age, his ex-girlfriend or wife's age, and they've got a son together. And we've done the math, and she would have been 16 or 17 when she went. And that was the exact age gap between me and my ex-partner. I was 16, he was 27.
Paul's response to Boo was predictably petty. He threw shade at her multiple times on his page, used his signature condescending pet names to dismiss her, and treated like she was just another hater looking for attention.
100 more to get to 200,000 followers. Unless your name is Boo, and then you probably need some tissues, because you've got a bit of anger and you get a bit upset quite a lot. So you need a few tissues, Boo. My little Boo. My little Boo-Boo-Boo. My little Boo-Boo-Boo. Emmy, thank you for the wish.
It turned out that Boo's video prompted some of Paul's victims to come forward and speak up.
I said I was taking a break last night, and I was going to, and then I got this message, and it knocked me sick. Essentially, a minor has contacted me to let me know that Paul was messaging them because they were sick, and this is the second time we have seen him do something similar. Allegedly, he was also messaging a girl who had cancer and liking their photos.
Eventually, Paul blocked her, but by that point, the online community had already rallied behind Boo, and the damage to what was left of his reputation had been done. Boo's videos marked a turning point in how the internet viewed Paul Breach. Before her, people called him cringy and weird. After her, they called him dangerous. Her videos also made people pay close attention to his past relationships. Paul Breach's relationship history is not just messy. It is a textbook example of what behavior looks like when it stretches across years and multiple women. It became obvious early on that Paul was lonely following the end of his long-term relationship with the mother of his son, the same woman who, based on Facebook evidence, was 16 or 17 when he got her pregnant while he was 27. Rather than using a dating app or meeting someone through normal adult channels, Paul used his TikTok platform to seek his next relationship, flirting in comment sections, going live with young women, and openly expressing that he was ready for love in a way that made most viewers deeply uncomfortable. He also had a habit of pretending to have a girlfriend when there was clearly no one there, staging fake conversations and sound effects of a woman's presence, seemingly just to convince people that he was desirable.
Paul pretending like he got a naughty text on live.
The first woman he publicly dated online was a TikToker named Sophie, who was in her late 20s. Paul treated the relationship like a prize he had won, posting about it constantly, oversharing every detail. It was more like he wanted to use this relationship as proof that he was normal. But things fell apart quickly. Sophie described Paul as problematic, and said that he tried to move in with her within months of being together.
Like, he started coming down to see me. I think his dad dropped him off. But when he came down, he bought everything but the kitchen sink. Didn't plan on moving anyone in.
When Sophie eventually went public with the breakup, Paul responded by posting sad, sympathy-baiting content on his Instagram, implying that something dark could happen to him. Remember that at this point, he was already over 40 years old.
I know I'm being slugged off on a live chat. Still not going to talk about stuff that doesn't concern anybody else. But if I'm really that bad, why drop my stuff off to me? Why?
During the same period, Paul was caught liking photos of an underage girl on Instagram, and when Sophie confronted him, he said he was doing it to support a cancer survivor. Sophie later confirmed that Paul had given her gifts originally intended for another woman, Frankie, whom Paul had briefly dated before her.
Who they were for, I knew for a fact they were for Frankie, but clearly she must have left him before he got a chance to even...
People took a deep dive into Frankie, and they found that Paul had created what appeared to be a fake Instagram account to defend himself, posting as Frankie to insist he was a good man and had done nothing wrong. So when people send a message to the account, they usually get a response in the line of, "And I think the disrespect that Paul is getting is disgusting. He has not done anything wrong to me, and I'm pretty sure he's not done anything wrong to Sophie. He's a good man, and everyone who's trying to push him over the edge deserves to see the evil in themselves. It's horrible." It became apparent that Paul was running the account because it followed only one person, Paul Breach himself. Moreover, the account vanished shortly after. Then there was the catfishing incident where Paul traveled to meet a woman he believed was 19 years old, even bringing a condom to the meeting. When he got there, the woman sent him a text saying, "I'm at work, Paul, because I'm a 32 adult, and I'm also wondering why you're arranging to meet up with a 19-year-old girl with plans to stay in a hotel at the big age of 42, asking her for photos constantly. You do realize you're I'm lonely and sad." This upset him, not because he had been deceived, but because the woman was older than expected. Then there was Grace, an 18-year-old OnlyFans model who hired Paul for a photography shoot. They stayed together in an Airbnb, and after the shoot, Grace went public, claiming Paul had tried to kiss her, made inappropriate comments, and described dirty talk she found deeply unsettling.
I think any 42-year-old man that meets up with someone younger thinks something's going to happen. But I only think that now because of everything I've read, everything I've talked to people about.
Was he quite flirty and
just throughout the day there was little touches, if I was driving or
was the casual Paul flirt?
Like his leg would be kind of on my on my gear stick.
In an interview with Boo, Grace appeared tense and explained she was facing intense online scrutiny and bullying after her encounter with Paul. Paul responded, saying he was not the bad guy in this situation. Boo then responded, criticizing his lack of accountability regarding his interaction with younger women.
You think you've done nothing wrong, but there are people incredibly close to you who message me and agree that you are a narcissist. The fact that you, a man with an iPhone, you're not a photographer, tried to do a lingerie shoot with a teenager is disgusting. Even if she messaged you first, you are the elder person, you had the responsibility to say that is not appropriate.
Later on, Grace revealed that Paul had sent her a message saying he wanted to unalive himself after the controversy, which she felt was emotional manipulation, designed to get her to call him. In the message, Paul said, "No, I'm not okay, hun. What others do on social media impacts me and my loved ones. I live in a tiny village, and yet I now have to put cameras up because people can't stop being assholes. I wanted to end my life tonight, but instead turned it to anger." Shortly after Grace came forward, a young woman named Nikesha went on TikTok and said Paul had been staying at her home when she was 18, and Paul was in his mid-40s. According to Nikesha, he began coming up behind me, putting his hands on my back, shoulders, and proceeded to massage me. That led him on to touching my face and nose, telling me no one else is to touch it as it's his. In fact, Paul basically confirmed his interest in younger girls when he publicly stated, without shame, that he had no interest in dating a 43-year-old woman.
I don't want to. I don't want to date a 43-year-old. I'm sorry. I don't want to date them.
To Paul Breach, his interest in younger girls is who he is. That is what he wants. All of this relationship history directly explains why people eventually stopped just laughing at Paul and started treating him more seriously. The next section is where that shift became impossible to ignore. By 2023, Paul Breach had stopped being just an internet joke. He had become something the people of the UK had to physically deal with. He had become so recognizable that a website was created called the Paul Breach Tracker, where people posted confirmed sightings of him across the United Kingdom. He could not go to a grocery store without someone filming him on their phone.
Guys, we're on our way to go see Paul Breach. The file. This is so exciting. Oh, I think he's talking to someone. Y'all see that over there? Yeah. Y'all see him? Yeah.
It got to a point where he got tired of the people filming him everywhere he went to. That was because people would film him when he was outside waiting around the roadside, at the mall, when he was trying to get across the road, or even at a restaurant in another country. People even dropped updates on his whereabouts. He sometimes would go out just to prove that people would come around to take a photo of him. He accepted that he could no longer do anything about that, and then he switched it up to tell people not to take photos of other people.
It's the basics of what you don't do on the internet. I can't find how any of you find it justifiably correct and fine to do anything like that. Baffles me beyond belief. Yet you'll all jump on to lots of other things. It is confusing. Again, don't like me, that's fine. I've got the social media platform. Stop posting pictures.
In April 2023, Paul was reportedly taken into a police van in North Yorkshire, not because he had been arrested, but because a crowd had surrounded him at a pub, chanting at him and blocking exits, and the police had to escort him out for his own safety. The incident spread across TikTok instantly, with people initially believing he had been arrested. Also in 2023, he was reported to the police for allegedly taking unwanted photos of children in a park, approaching girls and asking for selfies. No formal charges were ever filed, but Paul's response was simply, "I can't answer accusations that didn't happen," which was by now his default setting. After the photography incident with Grace, TikTok banned his account entirely. He briefly acknowledged the ban, and hinted at returning to a normal life.
My account is gone. If it stays permanently gone, I'll go back to a normal life eventually. I've got enough money to do what I want at the moment.
Sophie, his ex-girlfriend, launched not one but 2 petitions demanding his removal from every platform, including Cameo, detailing his history of targeting young women, arranging inappropriate meetups, and using his platform to access vulnerable people. The second petition gathered hundreds of signatures, but ultimately failed to remove him from any platform. His stepfather and stepbrother allegedly asked him to leave the family home due to the controversy surrounding him. And for a period of time, Paul was effectively homeless, live streaming from a tent while telling his audience he was simply wild camping. The real-life fallout gave the world a clear picture of who Paul Breach is when the camera is not flattering him. But the question everyone kept asking was, why did none of this stop him? The next part explains exactly how he turned it all into a business. Cameo was perfect for him. It allowed him to mask his behaviors by responding to video requests and congratulating people on their wins. However, even when he does that, he typically uses words or makes gestures that are simply not age-appropriate.
Hello, my little delectable princess. Hello, my queen. Hello, my bubs.
He was also fired from his nursing job in part because of a Cameo video he sent to that same 15-year-old girl, which his former colleagues discovered and used as grounds to ask him to delete his TikTok account, which he refused. One commenter on his Cameo page complained they could hardly understand what he was saying in the video he sent them, which sums up the product quality on offer. But again, Paul still got the money. His TikTok live streams also generated direct income through badges, which his followers could purchase during broadcasts. He would redirect people from his controversies to his live streams, and from his live streams to his Cameo page, turning the cycle of hatred and attention into a functioning revenue model. He figured out that for a certain kind of internet audience, he can make more on anything. The more videos people made about him, the more people searched for his name. The more people searched his name, the more Cameo orders came in. When attention from YouTubers and TikTokers was at its peak, Paul's income was too. Every expose video, every Reddit thread, and every petition was, in a twisted way, an advertisement for his Cameo page. He had gone from a man who wanted to be liked to a man who had accepted that being hated was profitable. And somewhere in that transition, whatever conscience he might have had, switched off entirely. Cameo gave him a paywall to hide behind. It was the one space where the people who hated him could not reach him without first financially supporting him. And Paul, to his credit, understood that perfectly. But money has a way of running out, especially when the man managing it is someone who went from booking luxury hotels to living in a tent within the same year. By late 2023, Paul Breach's grip on the internet was loosening, not because he had changed, but because people had simply moved on to the next thing. His following began to decline. Even the people who had been watching him ironically had grown tired of the routine. The bans, the confrontations, the petitions, and the exposés had all failed to stop him, and after a certain point, the audience just accepted he would never go away and stopped giving him the energy. Financially, things had gotten bad. Reports confirmed he was no longer able to afford the hotels he had been staying in, and was instead living in a tent, which he framed on TikTok as a deliberate choice, calling it wild camping and presenting it as an adventure rather than a consequence. His stepfather and stepbrother had allegedly asked him to leave the family home. To try to stay relevant, Paul started dressing in women's clothing more frequently, creating a character called Woman and another called Old Woman, which each got over 1 million views, mostly from people who could not believe what they were seeing. He also began posting thirst trap content with the confidence that the entire internet agreed that was completely unwarranted, including a video in which he appeared to be trying to convince people that his physique was something to aspire to, offering a sarcastic apology for setting unattainable body goals. He returned from his travels and went straight back to posting the same content, dressing up, dancing, responding to pretend comments, and flexing imaginary relationships. Nothing had changed. Nothing ever changes with Paul Breach. Paul Breach's fall is not a dramatic collapse. It is a slow, grinding slide into irrelevance that he keeps interrupting by doing something weird enough to drag people back. And because the internet has a short memory and a long appetite for cringe, that strategy keeps working just often enough to keep him online. It is possible that Paul Breach genuinely does not understand why people find his behavior alarming, but it is far more likely that he understands perfectly and simply does not care. He has spent his entire online career hiding predatory patterns behind a persona of harmless, middle-aged awkwardness, relying on the fact that his content is too cringy for anyone to take seriously enough to stop him. The women who have come forward, from the teenage mother to Sophie to Grace to Nakisha, all tell versions of the same story. A man who uses access and a following to get close to people who have no business being close to him. His Cameo page still has 1,500 reviews. His Instagram still has tens of thousands of followers. His TikTok accounts keep coming back. And so, whenever people see Paul around, they take out their phones to film him, just so another teenager does not become his next victim.